Hi guys, Assalamualaikum. My name is NURUL binti Mohamad HASNOL and my metric number is A19A0741. So I'm gonna talk about introduction. Financial management may be defined as the area of function in an organization which is concerned with profitability, cash and expenses, credit, so that organization may have means to carry out its objective as satisfactorily as possible. The next part is nature business. Apollo Food Holdings Berhad. In 1994, Apollo Food Holdings Berhad is a holding company. It operates in two segments, investment holding and manufacturing, marketing and distribution. Apollo offers products such as chocolate layer cake, chocolate wafer products, layer cake Swiss roll product, chocolate confectionery products and wafer product. This company sells its product throughout Malaysia, distribute its product in Singapore, the Philippines, Indonesia, Thailand, Taiwan, Vietnam, Maldives, China, Japan, Hong Kong, India and Mauritius. Under leading by Chiang Heng Liang, include more than 764 employees in a country. This company headquarters in Johor Bahru. The next part is nature business for Nestle company. In 1866, Henry Nestle, a pharmacist, developed a milk food formula for infants who were unable to tolerate their mother milk. In 1866 to 1947, the Nestle company had gone through several name changes. Multinational manufacturer of food products. This company headquartered in Vevey, Switzerland and operate factories in more than 80 countries. Nestle chief products are condensed and powder milk, baby foods, chocolate products, candies, instant coffees and teas, soup, seasoning and condiment, frozen food, ice cream and bottled water.
Assalamualaikum. Let me introduce myself. My name is LIYANA binti BAHRI. My metric number A19A0595. So, I want to continue present and my part is financial ratio for Apollo and Nestle company. I will explain how to calculate 14 financial ratio in Apollo and Nestle company for 2018 and 2019. For example, I will take 1 year to tell detail about the formula to calculate 14 financial ratio. Firstly, to calculate current ratio where current asset divide current liabilities. For example, I take Nestle company where 1,215,419 divided 1,782,076 equal to 0.682 times. Secondly, quick ratio, where current asset minus inventory divide current liability. For example, I take Nestle company where 1,250,416 minus 530,378 divide 1,782,079 equal to 0.384 times. Next, I want to calculate inventory turnover where cash of goods sold divide inventory. So I take one company, for example, 3,381,318 divide 530,378 equal to 6.375 times. Next, achieved turnover where sale divided achievable turnover. For example, Nestle company where 5,518,045 divide 629,26,947 equal to 0.803 times. Next, total asset turnover, where sale divide total asset. I take Nestle company to give example where 5,519,045 divide 2,847,282 equal to 1.938 times. Next, debt ratio. Total liability divide total asset, where 2,192,949 divide 2,847,282 equal to 0.770%. Next, time interest earned, where EBIT divide interest expenses. For example, I take Nestle company where 875,819 divide 270,008 equal to 4.036%. Next, debt to equity, where total debt divide total equity. I take example from Nestle company where 2,192,949 divide 945,333 equal to 3.3451%. Next, net profit margin. Net income divide total asset. I take Nestle company to give example where 658,882 divide 5,519,045 equal to 0.119%. Next, return of asset. EBIT divide total asset. For example, I take detail from Nestle company where 875,890 divide 2,847,282 equal to 0.308%. Next, return of equity, where EBIT divide shareholder equity. I will take detail from Nestle company where 875,880 divide 600 for 54,333 equal to 1.339%. Next, gross profit margin, where gross profit divide sale. For example, detail from Nestle company where 2,137,665 divide 5,519,045 equal to 0.387%. Next, return on investment, where net profit divide total asset. For example, I take Nestle company where 648,882 divide 2,847,282 equal to 0.231%. Lastly, for 40 financial ratio is operating profit margin, where EBIT divide sale. For example, I get detail from Nestle company where 875,819 divide 5,519,045 equal to 0.159%. After that, I want to tell detail for two company in financial ratio 2019. First, current ratio for Apollo is 15.714 times, while Nestle is 0.648 times. Second, quick ratio for Apollo is 14.107 times, while Nestle is 0.315 times. Third, inventory turnover for Apollo is 9.0996 times, while Nestle is 9.242 times. 4. Receivable turnover for Apollo is 6.370 times, while Nestle is 10.533 times. Next, total asset turnover for Apollo is 0.709 times, while Nestle is 2.024 times. Next, debt ratio for Apollo is 0.0798%, while Nestle is 0.756%. Next, time interest earned for Apollo is 3.819%, while Nestle is 4.318%. Next, debt to equity for Apollo is 0.087%, while Nestle is 3.101%. Next, net profit margin for Apollo 0.092%, while Nestle 0.122%. Next, return of asset for Apollo 0.089%, while Nestle 0.321%. Next, return of equity for Apollo is 0.096%, while Nestle 1.317%. Next, gross profit margin for Apollo is 0.248%, while Nestle is 0.376%. Next, return on investment for Apollo is 0.095%, while Nestle 0.2447%. Lastly, operating profit margin for Apollo is 0.125%, while Nestle 0.159%.
Hi, my name is SYAKIRA binti BASRI and my metric number is A19A0628. For the first one is liquidity, current ratio. Apollo is 16.654 times, Nestle is 0.594 times. Quick ratio, Apollo is 15.062 times, Nestle is 0.266 times. Asset utilization. A. Inventory turnover. Apollo is 8.620 times. Nestle is 5.771 times. B. Residual turnover. Apollo is 6.654 times. Nestle is 11.449 times. C. Total asset turnover. Apollo is 0.664 times. Nestle is 1.891 times. Debt management. For the first one is debt ratio. Apollo is 0.077%. Nestle is 0.805%. And the second one is time interest earned. Apollo is 3.500%. Nestle is 4.212%. And the last one is debt to equity. Apollo is 0.083%. Nestle is 4.136%. Ratio. Profitable ratio we have 6. And the first one is net profit margin. Apollo 0.081%. Nestle 0.102%. Return of asset. Apollo 0.076%. Nestle 0.253%. Return of equity. Apollo 0.082%. Nestle 1.301%. Gross profit margin. Apollo 0.262%. Nestle 0.363%. Return of investment. Apollo 0.054%. Nestle 0.193%. Operating profit margin. Apollo 0.114%, Nestle 0.134%.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh to Madam. My name is AIDA NADHIRAH binti KHABIL and my metric number is A1980019. Okay, now I will continue about my part, which is an horizontal analysis about Apollo Company and Nestle Company. Okay, now we have 14 ratio in 4 categories, which is number 1 is liquidity ratio, asset utilization, debt management, and profitability ratio. So I will explain the interpret for the two company. Okay, now for the category 1, which is liquid ratio, and the first ratio, which is current ratio for Apollo Company. Between 3 years, the current ratio in 2018 is better than 2019 and 2020. The firm had RM 70.86 cent in current assets for every RM1 ringgit it owned in current liability. For the quick ratio, which is number 2, between 3 years, the quick ratio in 2019 is better than 2019 and 2020. It between less and comeback highest after 1 year, the firm has RM 15.99 ringgit in current asset to cover RM1 ringgit in current liabilities. And now we go through to Nestle Company. For the number 1, which is current ratio, between 3 years, the current ratio in 2018 is better than 2019 and 2020. The firm had 0.0682 cent in current assets for every RM1 ringgit it owned in current liability. Number 2 is quick ratio. So between the 3 years, the quick ratio in 2018 is better than 2019 and 2020. It become less and come back highest after 1 year. The firm has 0.384 cent in current asset to cover RM1 ringgit in current liabilities. Okay, now we go to the number 2 categories, which is asset utilization. So first is for Apollo Company. Number 3 ratio, which is inventory turnover. So the interpret for 3 years is inventory turnover ratio in 2018 is the higher than 2019 in 2020. The firm turned over its inventory 10.103 times on that year. It's become lowest on 2019 to 2020. Okay, next is receivable turnover. Okay, receivable turnover. So for the 3 years, the receivable on 2020 is the highest than 2019 and 2018 with amount RM 6.65 ringgit turnover. It good for company Apollo for the achievement. Next, we go through those total asset turnover. So for the 3 years, Apollo Company total asset turnover for 2018 is the highest than 2019 and 2020. It seems decrease year by year. The time is 0.724. Okay, next we go through to Nestle Company for the asset utilization for ratio inventory turnover. For the 3 years, inventory turnover ratio in 2018 is the higher than 2019 and 2020. The firm turnover is inventory 6.375 times on that year. It's become lowest on 2019-2020. Okay, next we go through to sales receivable turnover. Okay, the receivable on 2020 is the highest than 2019 and 2018, which amount RM 11.45 ringgit turnover. It good for the company Nestle SA for the achievement. Okay, last ratio for the asset utilization, which is total asset turnover. For the 3 years, total asset turnover for 2019 is the highest than 2018 and 2020. It same increase then decrease after 1 year. Okay, for the 3 categories is debt management. Okay, now we go to Apollo company. Now the ratio is debt ratio. Okay, for the 3 years, the debt ratio for year 2018 is the lowest with 0.076% of its asset with debt. But for the 3 year is lowest actually for Apollo Food Holding, so it still can recover their liabilities of total asset. For the next ratio is times interest earned. So the highest time interest earned is on 2018, then 2019 and 2020. The Apollo Food Holding will be able to pay 4.030% the interest expenses. For the next ratio, which is debt to equity. Okay, for the 3 years on Apollo company, the debt to equity ratio for the year 2018 is the lowest with 0.082%. But actually for the 3 year is the lowest for Apollo Food Holding, so it still can cover the liabilities for total equity. Okay, next for the Nestlé company. Okay, first is debt ratio. The interpret is the debt ratio for year 2019 is the lowest with 0.76% of its asset with debt. But for the 3 years is lowest actually for Nestle SA, so it still can recover their liabilities of total asset. For the next ratio is times interest earned. The highest time interest earned is on 2019, then 2018 and 2020. The Nestle SA will be able to pay 4.318% the interest expenses. For the last ratio for debt management is debt to equity. Okay, for the 3 years on Nestle company, between 2018, 2019 and 2020, the debt to equity ratio for the year 2019 is the lowest with 3.101%. So it still can cover the liabilities of total equity. Okay, for the last category ratio is profitability ratio. So the number 1 is net profit margin. So for the Apollo company, the highest net profit margin for Apollo Food Company for 3 years is 2019. It 0.092% better than year 2018 and 2020. Okay, for the next is return of asset. For the return of asset, the highest return of asset for Apollo Food Holding for 3 years is 2019. This year is highest from 2018 and 2020. Thus, Frame generates 0.089% in operating profit for each RM 1 ringgit of sales. For the next ratio is return of equity. Return of equity for Apollo Food Holding is 2019 is the highest than 2018 and 2020 with 0.096% shareholder equity. And for the next is gross profit margin. The highest gross profit margin is year 2020. This year is increased gross profit from 2018, just 0.262% out of each RM of sales goes to gross profit. For the next is return on investment. For the Apollo company, the highest return investment is on 2019, better than 2018 and 2020.
Hi, my name is Livinia and my metric number is A19E0248 and my part is vertical analysis. There is four parts which is liquidity ratio, asset management, capital structure ratio and probability ratio. For liquidity ratio there are two, which is current ratio and quick ratio. For the current ratio, it shows that Apollo Food Holding Berhad have the highest current ratio, which is 16.654 compared to Nestle Malaysia Company, which is 0.594. This means Apollo Company can be easily able to pay off current liabilities because for every RM1 for liability, the company has 16 ringgit 65 cents. For quick ratio, from the calculation, it shows that Nestle had the lowest ratio, which is 0.266 times compared to Apollo Food, which is 15.062 times. This means Nestle has lower ability to pay its short-term obligation without rely on inventories. In asset management, there is three, which is inventory turnover ratio, account receivable turnover, and total asset turnover. For inventory turnover ratio, Apollo Food has the highest inventory turnout, that is 8.62 times compared to Nestle 5.77 times. This means Apollo Food is the most efficient in inventory and generates sales. For account receivable turnover, Apollo Food has the highest account receivable turnover, that is 6.654 times compared to Nestle 11.449 times. This means from customer in terms of receivable compared to Nestle Malaysia Company. For total asset turnover, Nestle has the highest total asset turnover, 1.89 times compared to other. Apollo Food 0.664 times. The higher the better because it shows the efficiency with which a company is developing its asset and generating revenue. For capital structure ratio, there are three: debt ratio, debt to equity ratio, time interest earned. For debt ratio, Nestle have the highest debt ratio with 0.8%, followed by Apollo 0.077%. The lower the debt is, better because it means they can easily recover their liability with their asset. For debt to equity ratio, Nestle have the highest debt, 4.1363%, followed by Apollo 0.083%. The higher the debt, the higher the risk for the company. It could mean they are generating more income, or if the cost of the debt become too much for the company to handle, it can even lead to bankruptcy, which would leave shareholders with nothing. For times interest earned by Nestle is 4.212%, higher than Apollo 3.5%, so Nestle could have paid its total interest 4.212 times than Apollo. For probability ratio, there are six, which is net profit margin, operation profit margin, gross profit margin. So for net profit margin, Nestle has the highest net profit margin compared to other companies, 0.012%, followed by Apollo 0.081. The higher the better because shareholders look to net profit margin closely because it shows how good a company is at converting revenue into profits available for shareholders. For operation profit margin, Nestle has the best operation profit margin because it's the highest. 0.1.
My name is RAIHANA ADLIN binti Mama Osman. My metric number is A19A0607. So today I want to talk about 6.0 suggestion. They have a few recommendations for both companies to improve their financial management and gain profit. First is control overload expense. Both companies must examine how much they are spending on raw material, rent, labor, and many more. The cash are able to retain in business also increase. Secondly, get rid the useless assets such as unused machine. Every company must have their own unproductive asset. They just keep them, wasting resources and not earning anything. It will be better off just disposing of them or sell it and get price on it. Thirdly, both companies can get some advice to improve their financial statement. They should get a consultant who are expert in the financial management to make their financial going very well and gain more profit. Last is switch from short-term debt to long-run debt. Both companies can use long-term debt compared to short-term debt. This is because long-term debt can give the companies will benefit of smaller monthly installment and interest rate. Next, I want to talk about conclusion. As conclusion, we can conclude that every company has their own different of ratio, but using all 14 ratio, we can see the liquidity ratio, asset management, capital structure, and profitability ratio in table that have been calculated. Financial ratio is important to illustrate and allow us to compare the strength and weakness of a business. By analyzing the ratio recently, a business owner can know any unusual fluctuation in financial measure and can run the business to perform well. Ratio also helpful tools in measure financial analysis and forecasting, allow entrepreneurs to set a specific goals and financial position of two or more business firms. We also can conclude that in this analysis, financial ratio provide very useful analysis and can help give management toward making better decisions if they interpret correctly.